If you've ever wanted a free but super powerful tier 7 tank, then the Challenger is the go-to in my opinion, and it is a tank that I 3 marked, and this is one of the tanks that I wanted to revisit since it's been over 2 years since I uploaded the first Challenger videos, and in fact it was one of the first videos that I actually restarted uploading with, and we've come a massive way since actually going there, both in actual video quality in terms of the actual like footage. That's not me saying that I've got any better at actually talking to you guys, but either way, yeah, the actual footage, the production has hopefully got a lot better, and of course hopefully we've got a lot better at actually playing in the Challenger. Now this tank is unbelievably powerful in the right hands, and that's because this has a 280 alpha damage gun that reloads super quickly. It has good camo, it has good concealment and vision, it has a brilliant reload, it has good mobility, and in general is just super consistent as a tier 7 tank destroyer, where you compare it to something else like for example maybe a SU-152 that yes has the like packing power to just rinse people, but it doesn't have anywhere near the level of kind of consistency that the Challenger has. And you can see here within the first few minutes of the game we've managed to pick up 850 damage, and in fact taken out a Iron Rain completely blind from full health pretty much, except from, you know, I don't mean completely blind, but blind after he got undetected. But the Vanguard on the enemy team does in fact come around the corner, which is not a good play in 99% of the scenarios, which is really annoying, the fact that he did actually make that play, and he penned us twice, which is not good, and the Challenger has absolutely no armor, so don't go thinking that this tank is a armored beast or anything like that. It can bounce some rounds, and I mean that very loosely. Think of this like a glass cannon that occasionally bounces rounds off of its turret. You can see here we're just pounding on the pressure on the VKA, who's kind of got himself in a sticky situation. At this point I'm pulling back because we don't want to get hit by anyone. We have no idea where the enemy tank destroyers or potentially anyone with above 490 alpha could quite easily take us out in one shell. So, you know, pull back behind the bush, pull out of the range of people being able to hit us, and then kind of get back into the same sort of position. Now, granted, in World of Tanks, if you go back to the same position and people have a brain, a lot of the time they will pre-aim that position, or they will just blind fire, which can end up with you getting taken out pretty quickly. Now, I'm trying to go for the tracking shot on the VK, which we don't manage to well, we do manage to be able to do, but we do get spotted in return. And talking about getting hit, we do receive another hit, so that makes 3 hits, and we're already a one shot within the game. So these are things that you have to worry about with the Challenger, and it's not the easiest tank to kind of get used to considering you have no armor, but it's that main armament and the mobility concealment that make this tank unbelievably good to play with and super hard to play against if someone knows what they're doing and has used a tank like this before. So I could potentially try and go for a shot on the Vanguard, but I decide, you know what, it's not actually worth it, and it isn't a Vanguard, it's a Lycan. What am I on about? But the Lycan is on basically a one shot for everyone and anyone, so I don't want to waste my hit points. I don't want to actually get taken out for the sake of 50 damage or something, and I'm sure my team would be able to deal with him. Now, talking about not getting spotted or avoiding taking any damage, we do hit the Vanguard on the enemy team, which is lucky that we were able to remain undetected after firing and getting unspotted, because we could have quite easily been taken out there. But 3,000 damage has been done so far with this game, and we've actually got fairly lucky, I would say, or at least the tanks allowed us to get lucky. So at this point now, just kind of trying to find out where the rest of the opponents are. It's not a guaranteed win. This is something that I always try and think about within World of Tanks is, you know, you may or may not win a game, and if you don't guarantee yourself to be able to do that, then don't go doing anything silly or stupid, because a lot of the time your teammates will do that for you. So you don't want to be going in and YOLOing, and I actually found myself being a victim of that when trying to use the Spatuk recently. That's just probably because I was getting excited about the fact that it has unbelievable damage per minute, and if you want to check out that video, I highly recommend you go and do that, because that vehicle, the Czechoslovakian tier 8 tank destroyer, has a similar kind of Challenger-esque vibe to it. I just really did enjoy playing that tank massively, so go and check out that video if you're interested. And of course, if you haven't already, take advantage of the silver boosting potential that you can use in Cold War right now as well, which is unbelievable. But the Challenger, getting back to the video, what am I doing here? Well, I'm just trying to launch a few shells, kind of hoping to either track or deal damage or just be a little bit of a nuisance for the opponents. Now the AMX does get spotted, and we only are able to just grab a little bit of damage on him and pick up the enemy destroyed, picking up 2 so far, and yeah, 4,400 damage. So in a tier 7, 4,400 damage is very, very good. You would typically be quite happy with a 3k damage game. I'm not saying it would be outstanding, but this is a very consistent, very good game in something like the Challenger. And if you could bear the thought of going back through all of my videos over the last 2 years, which I believe there's over 700 now on the channel, which is crazy. But you could find the original Challenger video. I tried doing it myself, which pretty much failed miserably, so I have no idea if any of you will ever be able to find that video, but it is one of the first ones. I have no idea if it's optimized very well to be able to find it, but I couldn't find it on YouTube, couldn't find it in my content, but it's definitely out there, and I believe it was titled something like a mastery badge or something like that, which is completely different to our usual titles now. But yeah, either way, you can see here, just trying to push up, get a little bit of damage. Unfortunately, the STA does avoid us getting that damage. The Jagdtiger could pose a little bit of damage for us, and we now go for the artillery, which for some reason just decides it's magnetized to the floor, and now just trying to go around and get some final damage on the Pantera. And of course he pulls around the corner, meaning that we can't get around there, and we're going to be stuck with only 4,400 damage within this result, which is a really good one, and picking up nearly 5k combined. So yeah, really fantastic replay for the Challenger, and shows me why I really did enjoy playing this tank enough to actually 3 mark it. Now we are back down to 2 marks because of the time period that we played this tank. It was a long time ago, and of course if you don't play a tank in a while, the marks of excellence can change dramatically, and I believe I probably 3 marked it and never played it after there. So these are the first few that we've played. So let's jump into the next replay and I'll catch you there. So our next contestant map is Steppes, and this is a map I found to be pretty good for most vehicles. There are some like super heavies that might find this map horrible because of the RT potential and being able to be focused by artillery for pretty much the entire game with very little chance of avoiding it. But for most other tanks, and especially things like the Challenger, you can have really amazing games and pick up a ton of damage for free within this. It's really easy actually to be able to get some free damage on Steppes. You just need to know the typical positions, and you can also carry quite well in something like the Challenger because of that damage per minute and the consistent damage that you can kick out, as well as the consistent accurate rounds that you can fire as well. Going for tracking shots, all that sort of jazz. This is what this tank is made for and why it's so fun to play. But you can see here we've kind of set up in this bush at the beginning, hoping to spot some people who might kind of overpoke or overcross or just kind of find themselves in the wrong position. So we load a premium round here. I don't quite know why, probably because I just wanted the extra speed on the round to fire at these long distances, but either way we do find the T20, who we managed to actually hit and roll exactly for our standard damage. We also hit the Panther there, and this is what the Challenger can do. You can swing around. It's like a mobile kind of missile lock-on launcher. It's just super accurate in terms of how well this thing will fire and how you can farm opponents. And if you're coming up against tier 6s, this tank it just feels flat out broken. I mean, something like an M6 is going to have no chance against the 10 degrees of gun depression, fairly okay turret armor against tier 6s, the 5.5 second reload to do 280 damage, which is like a quarter of his health every single time, and yeah, he's gone within the first 20 seconds or the first 3 shells that come out of this vehicle. Now, much like the T1 or the our first boy, we do indeed take out the M4A3E2, who quickly gets removed as well, and the Shmiel on the enemy team is just sat at the back, and we're hoping to get some shells into him, which is unfortunately because we keep missing. I believe that there's like a little rock that people go behind, which can be a pain in the backside, but we do try and blind fire him in a second, which I highly recommend you guys do. If you don't blind fire in World of Tanks, it's something that you can utilize, and it's what will make the difference between you having a good game and you having an amazing game. So just note that down. If you don't fire sometimes blind at places where you think that there are people and there's nothing else to shoot at, then yeah, I'd highly recommend you do that. But nonetheless, 2,200 damage and also picking up 500 assist, and that's what you get if you are an aggressive challenger player. It's super easy to get assistance with this tank. Now the Tiger P has pushed up quite aggressively. We go for the cupola shot. Of course it misses, because why would you want to actually hit the place where you're aiming? And then we go for another one which misses as well, so just getting a little bit triggered that my aim is bad. And yeah, we don't want to push around that corner because I know that the Shmiel is there at some point, but we do try and fire at the Tiger P's cupola there again, which of course misses, and then finally we do actually manage to hit that cupola of his and take him out of the game. But having found that we've done 2,800 damage with nearly 700 assistance, so 3.5k combined, we are kind of trying to get the final bits and remnants of damage on these boys. Now I know that there is of course the IS, who's going to pose a little bit of trouble within this game, since that tank is not a fun one to come up against. It has quite a lot of health, and of course when we're on 677 we are a 2-shot for the 390 alpha that the IS has. And we don't want to be getting hit by anything like a Shmiel, who's probably sat at the back anyway. So we go for the blind fire on him. It doesn't actually end up working, which is super annoying. It would have been nice to get some free damage on the Shmiel and get him out of the game, because yeah, I don't want to take a 500 and something damage hit from the Shmiel. So just watching out and keeping an eye on him is key. Now we know that the Shmiel fired because you saw the tracer come round, so we're not too worried about him at the moment, but that reloads fairly quickly, so you don't want to kind of completely disregard it. But we do hit the Brumbar, which is nice as well. A nice little auto aim. It does actually work very well in the Challenger because of the accuracy that you get with this thing. As you can see in the sniper mode when we go in there, or if you look back at some of the other replays, then you'll see how just accurate this tank is and why I love it so much. And I feel like tanks that reward accuracy are really good. For me personally, I just enjoy being able to pinpoint people's weak points and just rinse them and outplay them, because of the fact that, you know, your thought process is better, not because of RNGs made you miss or you haven't actually got it. Granted, I do think that there should be a negative for you not actually aiming and stuff like that and getting lucky and just kind of flicking around, because like it's just never going to happen. Well, it shouldn't happen in my personal opinion, but yeah, 3,094 damage, just waiting and waiting for people. Now I'm thinking, you know what, we could blind fire this bush, but I'm kind of scared that we have only got 7 rounds left in the Challenger, so blind firing at this point could be a potential negative, and we don't want to kind of throw the game, especially at this point. when there's so much more health that we could farm from the enemy team. So we stay a little bit further back. We know that there's an IS on the enemy team who's sat at the back, and there's 4 tank destroyers with 2 artillery that could be a real threat to us. So we're just waiting around and hoping that the opponents make the mistake. Now we get up into this spot. I'm hoping that the IS will pull back. He's a one-shot for me, so maybe we'll be able to take him out from here. I'm a little bit hesitant as to go any further, especially with the kind of potential of the other vehicles. Now the Shmuel does indeed hit me, which is once again super annoying, but we need to load the HE round, but we don't decide to actually do that, because if we'd loaded the HE we'd have probably been much better off against the Shmuel, because what we could have done is just waited for him to repoke or just basically penned him using the HE, and we do actually fire a HE round towards him, but he does actually pre-aim where we are and he fires at us straight back, and we end up taking ourselves out of the game. If I just held off from firing, it would have been much better off, but nonetheless a particularly okay game, and I guess we could wait until the battle actually ends. But the Challenger, of course, picking up 3,000 kind of 800 damage combined is really good, pretty much 4,000 if not more. But other than that, hopefully that has showcased the Challenger and how powerful it is within the game, and why you want to try out tanks like this that are of course free, and that tech tree vehicles can still be competitive against some of the more power creep premium broken vehicles that Wargaming release within World of Tanks. But other than that, I hope you did enjoy, and of course check out some of the other videos on the channel, and I hope you'll join me in the next one. Goodbye.